A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Nerf Secret Revealed. So right now I got for today, as well as the 19th and the 20th, are a few more episodes, in fact, because it has been some time since I last uploaded an episode. But at this point, I'm really going to clarify right now that I've really gone ahead, out of the way, just to brainstorm as many ideas as I could ever find in my entire life at the moment. So what I've got for these few subjects of mine, of course I'm going to go for them one at a time. What I've got first is that I'm basically just going to label out something based on how at some point some students out there who are currently in school and are watching this episode might have an idea that at some point in their lives they might have brought a Nerf blaster with them for show and tell. Of course, depending on the school you go to, show and tell things out there can be quite a big subject to go through. During pre-K through 12th grade, that's a really big subject for the most part. But in most areas, just like with some other things being cut back, just to focus more on tests and other subjects in school, any kind of lessons that follow along with your daily routine taking place within any faculty center in any part of America, show and tells just might not be as common anymore as they used to. They were quite a big thing out there. They'd allow you to find anything you could find and just bring it along to school with you to showcase it to anybody else who would be interested in whatever it is that you brought. In the case of a Nerf blaster though, it's probably an ante that might not ever be amped up at the moment, simply because show and tell is just not as focused based on curricular activity. But at the moment, we're probably not going to be seeing show and tell become totally extinct from all schools across the globe, and especially in this nation, where schools of course are becoming quite a big area for certain learning practices, as well as for those who have been struggling throughout most of their lives. Many people out there who struggle to try to get through school, of course, they try to get all the help they can find. But nowadays we're just really focusing more on the subject of school itself, trying to get ourselves through 12 different grades, or more, that is if you were like me. I spent an extra 2 years in school at the time, 14 years total for me. Of course though, when I'm talking about show and tell, I'm basically explaining how, of course, the rule of having a firearm or other kind of weapon on you would actually be a serious matter that would in turn cause legal action to be taken. But in the case of, well, just bringing along a toy gun, it probably may not be as different as it should be. Because after all, projectiles that are shot out that are as soft to the touch, or sometimes hard to the touch if you own a boom coal blaster, many people out there just might not feel confident to have something like a Nerf blaster being brought to school. Because even though they shoot foam darts with rubberized tips or other kinds of material that goes into construction for each dart, of course it is not at all that dangerous at any cost. They're not as dangerous as any kind of firearm you could ever own. Not even close. And it's mainly because of how fast they can fire. Certain dart ranges could, well, depending on the chronometer type of measurement, you probably would get precisely less than 100 feet per second. It's mainly depending on the type of blaster that you have with you and the type of darts that can be fired out of it. But at the moment, I just basically want to go over how some people might need to stop being very sensitive at this point. Because people out there, right now, we are indeed focusing on trying to get as many toy guns out there to look not as real as possible. Because if they did look real, of course, with Magnavox Odyssey's gun, that was very much of a line crosser. A pretty big line crosser, to say the least. But in terms of how we do it today, besides just giving orange tip out to any kind of toy gun out there, we really seem to focus much on reshaping and restyling every toy gun out there that we usually have, just so we would not ever have to face the so-called consequence of having ourselves something like an actual gun out there for anyone to see. And I'd really say real quick that it's probably not our fault that back then people out there have had what looked like real guns, but they were not actually real. They were mostly made of plastic or something like that, but of course the appearance of them, based on their color scheme and their shape in general, it pretty much appealed to most other real firearms. And you know that it's going to be a really big issue out there when we have something that looks like an actual firearm, a rifle, a 12 gauge, or even a P99. It probably would not really be so sinister nowadays. That's mainly because of how Hasbro really tries their best to have their blasters and the like not look real, and in turn not have those kind of realistic looks to them. Not to mention the fact that, well, aside from design differences, Hasbro really does focus on how the blaster itself just shoots actual darts out and not real bullets. Whenever you have something like a dart out there in comparison to an actual full metal jacket round, then we all know that Nerf itself is not bound to have any trouble on them in terms of legal matters. But of course, for faculties out there across the entire nation, this whole country especially, it's just becoming a little out of hand. Even though show and tell is almost on the bound of extinction, same with sports. In most schools around the area, we are in fact trying to keep our best shape as we possibly can. But some things are just being cut back though. And so show and tell could likely face an ending at some point, but we don't see that happening now. I might let you guys know especially if it does happen. It could be a long time from now though. But I guess the real question about it is, how on earth are teachers so overly sensitive about a Nerf blaster? Something that has been made not to look like a real firearm in terms of color scheme, shape, and functionality. I guess we might not ever find the true answer to it. We could have as many answers as we could find about it, basically to just prove some points as well as to put out some details on the subject, but of course a full-on incarnate type of answer is probably something we might not expect to find at the moment. So I suppose it's probably something out there that we might not have around as often. Mainly because I'm going to be getting onto different subjects around here. But if you want to see more go down on my channel, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.